what's the deal with Revolve?
Yeah, like I want to know a little bit more about Revolve and who you are and
What is your culture? You talk about your culture.
yeah.
Tell me all about Revolve. And so we're answering the question, what's Revolve all about? What's your deal?
Welcome to the Revolve Recap, where I am your host with the most, David McCumber, and this is my co-host, Billy. Don't rain on my parade, Lackey. No, not rain on your parade. It's been raining today, off and on.
It is.
But not, we're
Dreary.
sun shining here in the Revolve Recap podcast.
The sun is poking through now.
Yep.
Out there. See you, sun.
Yep. It's just like you, Billy. I see the sun just peeking through.
Just peeking through.
You know, not all clouds.
Nope.
A little bit of sunshine.
Guys, welcome to the Revolve Recap, where we discuss all things related to sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows.
Yep.
But we also discuss things that are relevant for the people who come to Revolve Church.
Yeah.
Well,
Like last night, I went to Rita's, and there was a unicorn flavor, and this lady was getting it for her daughter,
Yeah?
and she's like, "What's it taste like?" And the guy was like, "Oh, you know,
Unicorns?
sugar,
It's
sweet."
accurate statement.
Yeah. So
So that's the Revolve Recap.
that's it. Thanks for hanging out with
Thanks
us.
for
No, so
hanging
what do we
out.
got? Announcements? We're gonna start with announcements.
We do have a couple announcements, and so I'll
Yep.
let you kick it off since the first announcement is your shebang.
Yeah, I don't even have to look at it.
Oh, wow.
Are we talking about my class?
All right, well, I'll see. Jen gave me the notes, so
Yep.
I'll see
so
how
the
accurate it
first
is.
announcement is this Saturday, August 8th, correct? 9:00 in the Revolve office. If you've ever wondered, how do I lead a Discovery Bible study? There's a lot of talk.
What is a Discovery Bible
There's a lot
study?
of talk about in Revolve about the DBS, the Discovery Bible Study. We want to start 100 new Discovery Bible studies. What even is it?
Maybe you thought the DBS was a VBS.
It's not. It's not. Dora the Explorer, VBS, Finding Jesus. Nope. That's not what we're doing. Discovery Bible Study. So if you don't know what a Discovery Bible Study, I would tell you to come. If you do know what a Discovery Bible Study is,
Don't come.
maybe you've never led one,
I was just joking.
or maybe you have led one, and you're like, man, it was a little shaky. You know, maybe I need a little refresher.
Yeah.
So we're gonna come. We're gonna learn about Discovery Bible Study, and the Discovery Bible Study is really important to the DNA of Revolve.
DNA.
Segue. You know?
Deoxyribonucleic acid. You know what I'm saying? Okay. DG signups. All right. So the DG signups are open. What does that mean? It means that in this fall, very soon, we're going to start relaunching our discipleship groups. Now, discipleship groups are basically a loving community that's going to hold you accountable and spur you on to do three things: to grow in your relationship with God, to grow in your relationship with one another, and to engage with the world.
That's up in and out.
That's up in and out, baby. That's the DNA of our discipleship groups. You could almost call them DNA groups if you really wanted to.
Yeah. Deonucleus dioxide.
Deoribonucleic. Anyway. All right. So the whole point is be on the lookout for that. To sign up for, if you're not in a group and you want to join a group, or if you're thinking about leading a group, there's a sign up on our website. There's a sign up in the monthly bulletin we hand out. You can text us, let us know, email us, whatever it might be. We're going to do our best to try to onboard you to that. And the other thing that I think people need to know about priority is what's happening this Sunday, August the 9th.
That's Tide or Die.
Tide or Die. David, if you've never been to Tide or Die, give me like the 30 seconds. What happens at Tide or Die? Because it sounds very violent.
It does sound very violent, but before someone tied or dies, they get baptized.
Not everybody, but some people are getting baptized at Tide or Die.
It would be cool if only the people getting baptized could participate in Tide or Die. You'd be like, oh, you want to be a Tide or Die? You got to be baptized.
That's it. If you're not baptized,
so we're going down. We're going down to the beach in Wildwood Crest on Pacific Avenue at 4 o'clock.
Not Pacific, Pittsburgh.
And we are going to go to Pittsburgh Avenue at 4 o'clock this Sunday. Set up. You'll be looking for the Revolve Tide or Die flag, and that's how you'll find us.
I haven't even seen it yet.
Well, it's supposed to get here on Friday, so it's cutting it close.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But and then what at
5 o'clock
we're going to do baptisms. And then at 5:30 when the lifeguards go away, we are going to do Tide or Die. And what Tide or Die is You sit in a chair till the tide comes up. The first one who doesn't fall over wins.
Last man sitting.
No, that was like 45 seconds.
That's good. It was good. It was
Thank
good.
you.
I appreciate it. And then the last thing I want to let you guys know is on our 5th Sunday months, which August is a 5th Sunday, a 5 Sunday month, we have a praise and worship service. So the last Sunday in August, praise or worship service, just music. And we're also going to be doing a special commissioning, which if you don't know what that is, then you need to show up.
Mm-hmm. Does it involve a sword?
Maybe. I guess we'll find out.
Nice.
Oh, I should borrow Seth's broadsword for it. That would be hilarious. And anyway, we don't have Revolve Kids during our praise and worship Sundays, but we do take volunteers to help in the nursery in like a 30-minute shift. So if you're willing to help with that, make a comment or let us know.
And now it's raining again.
It's no sunshine there.
Nope. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do question of the
day. Oh. See you soon.
Sunshine came through there.
Hey, welcome back. Question of the day. Everybody's favorite part. No, Jerry told me his favorite part is where we get into the meat and potatoes.
Really? Oh, Jerry also told me, I forgot, I was supposed to say, hey, welcome to our podcast, Hungry Hungry Hannah, and pretend like we stole Hannah's idea. I totally forgot we were supposed to do that. So that's kind of a joke referring to last week's episode. So if you missed it with Hannah and Dina.
Oh, man, we should have done that while eating our Avalon bagels.
Yes, that's what he had said. He totally was like, you guys should eat your lunch and record it and say it's a Hungry Hungry Hannah podcast.
Maybe we should next week.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, question of the day. Time for the question of the day. David, here's the question. Now, David has 2 dogs. One is named
Max,
who is part
a goat,
and one is named
Nibbles,
who is all dog.
All dog. He's a golden retriever.
Now, he's a yellow lab, first of all.
Not a biologist, Bill. You know, what is a woman?
Not
I don't
a
know.
Zoologist. Okay, listen. If your pet, either one, you can pick whichever one. If your pet had like an internal monologue where they secretly judged you, what would they criticize most? Like if Max had a blog and he was like, oh my gosh, let me tell you about my owner, or Nibbles, what would they write about?
They do not like. So the reason we do question of the day, and I think people appreciate this, is because we shoot from the hip and we give the straight answers. This isn't like, oh, this is the pastors with our suit and tie on. We're going to put on a little show. Melissa and I have, and Bill knows this, and he hates it, but we have this thing at night where we sit on the couch and we rub each other's feet while we watch TV.
Why would I hate that?
Because you hate feet.
I think you're getting me confused with somebody else.
No, I always ask you when we travel. I said, me and Melissa at night, we rub each other's feet before bed.
I hate your feet.
And you don't want to do it with me.
Yeah.
And I'm always like...
That doesn't mean I don't like feet. It means I have no desire to rub your Southeast Asia tropical infected feet. Can you blame me, people?
So I think that drives Max nuts because he wants to sit on the couch. Because during the day when we're not home, he's just sitting on the couch. He's like the king of the couch.
Oh, yeah.
But when at night, we're like laying both of us on the couch.
Yep. So what's he thinking?
Lazies.
Just
lazy. Nobody's rubbing my feet. You know? Who's rubbing Max's feet? Nobody. So that's what he would be judging me about. That we're just lazy. We need our feet rubbed like a bunch of babies. Like a bunch of babies.
Wow. Max is pretty judgy.
And then
Nibbles thinking? What's
Nibbles would be thinking that I always finish the food and I don't leave any for him because he loves to eat. So what he does is when so if we're having like food and we're eating on like paper plates, like we have like hamburgers and hot dogs, like barbecue or something, he'll steal the plate and he eats the plate.
Oh, poor Nibbles.
So he's so mad that I don't leave a burger.
That's not even the best part of the barbecue. The plate's the worst part.
So
Nibbles.
He judges me where he's like, man, I wish he would just not eat all that food.
Not eat that whole plate.
And then I have to eat the plate. So.
Oh, man. I think Kodiak would be like, what are you doing? I don't understand you. Sometimes you give me a snack. Sometimes you yell at me when I ask for a treat. You're bringing me for a walk. You're not bringing me for a walk. You're playing catch. You won't play catch. I'm a very inconsistent dog owner.
Really? That surprises me.
No, it doesn't.
And it does surprise me because you all like every day it feels like you're taking nibbles. I wish you were taking nibbles for a walk.
No, well, I'm pretty consistent about bringing Kodiak for a walk, but it's more like
Why aren't you being consistent with the snacks? Like that kind of upsets me a little
maybe
bit.
I'm eating popcorn and I drop a piece.
You
know what I mean? Then he's like, no.
So it's like if you're not having snacks, he's not having snacks. Oh, okay. I thought it was like a dog treat.
No.
We're like, no dog treats for you.
No, it's more like sometimes I'm a mess and I drop a lot of popcorn. Sometimes I don't. And he's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Gotcha.
Make up your mind.
Yeah. Because and then you're like, you know what? I'm not having popcorn anymore because I'm going to eat good. And then for 2 days, you're like, no popcorn.
Right.
And then
the other
Kodiak's
thing is,
mad.
I feel like, Kodiak doesn't like playing catch. He likes playing keep away, and I feel like that's the other thing, his internal monologue is he'd be like, come and get it. Come and get it. Come on.
Yeah.
Come and get it. Come and get it. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's go. Come on. Come and get it. Come and get it. And then and then I go, Kodiak, you're driving me nuts. And I walk inside and he's like, what did I do? What did I do?
Yeah.
So,
and that's what he would blog about. Dog with a blog. Remember
yeah.
that show? That was a great show.
Nope. Never knew it existed, David.
You never knew Dog with a blog?
No. Did you ever hear of it?
That's really funny. No, because that's like my boys watched it, and Emma is the same age as Corey. So
No, Emma only watches musicals.
yeah, she only watches things on Angel TV.
That's it.
Angel Television.
Just a week away on
All right.
repeat.
So what's the question again? If your dog,
If your
animal, pet,
secretly judged you, what would they criticize the most?
yeah, okay, let us know. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back. We got a new.
Got a special edition.
Yeah, are you gonna be ranting again?
Nope, not ranting.
Pastor Rants.
Guess you'll find out.
Talking about the weed shops.
Guess you'll find out. Be right back.
All right, welcome back. Do you enjoy that break? The little 8-second break with that little jazzy music that plays. I had other music, but we get copyright struck.
Maybe we should make up sing our music.
Like Bobby McFerrin. We actually should do that one week. That'd be funny.
It would be great.
So what do we got going?
Right.
I kind of feel like this was almost like a mailbag because someone asked us this question, right?
I mean, whatever helps you. You know what? Whatever Max isn't going to criticize you for. You know what I mean? You call it a mailbag, call it a pastor reacts. You call it whatever you want. But today we're answering the question, what is Revolve?
What do you do around here, Bill?
What is Revolve's DNA?
Who do you think you are?
Do you remember the exact question that somebody asked?
I think someone asked,
It's
like they just wanted to know.
What's the deal
with
Revolve?
Yeah, I want to know a little bit more about Revolve and who you are and
what is your culture? You talk about your culture.
Yeah.
Tell me all about Revolve. And so we're answering the question, what's Revolve all about? What's your deal?
Well, and it's important because in our opinion, and we might be totally off, but I would make the bold statement that Revolve is unlike
any church in the world.
No, but many of the churches in our community, definitely in our county, we're very different in our philosophy and type in the way we do ministry and our mindset towards ministry.
So what makes Revolve different?
Yeah.
From the church you grew up in?
Oh, that's a thumbnail right there. That's
there
the
you go.
thumbnail. That's clickbait.
Well, that's good.
But it's not clickbait because we're actually going to answer it.
Yeah, we're actually going to answer it. What makes Revolve different? And so I think I'm going to begin a long, long time ago when Gina and I were on the mission field as missionaries living in Europe. We were there in Spain trying to work with Moroccan immigrants.
In Barcelona?
Yeah, no, not in Barcelona.
Madrid.
We were in Madrid.
Madrid.
And we came home and we were going to move to Southeast Asia and work in the Muslim world. And God redirected us to plant a church in little old Cape May County, New Jersey. And so the question was, what kind of church, Billy Boy, do you feel like the Lord called you to plant? And this is with a church that we felt like the Lord was calling us to plant. We wanted to plant a church. And this nomenclature has shifted over the years, but we wanted to plant a church that revolved around Jesus. Not that revolved around denomination, not that revolved around a culture, not that revolved around a personality, a church that revolved around Jesus. And what we meant by that was that we thought that every single disciple, every single person who came to to Revolve, we wanted to equip them to be a healthy disciple who would make disciples where they lived, work, learn, and play. That's what we wanted people. Be a healthy disciple who made disciples where they live, where they work, where they learn, and where they play. And that was kind of like that kernel of the DNA that we wanted to be the foundation of everything that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how do you want to do this, David? You want to just break that down, like one sentence at a time?
Yeah, well, I do want to say, when we say the word DNA, I think the word DNA, I think the word culture, all of this can, kind of be intertwined language-wise, but the whole idea is that it penetrates every decision that's made.
Yeah.
So it's like, are we going to do X? Well, is that going to help us make disciples who make disciples where they live, work, learn, and play?
Yes.
And then that's really the litmus or whatever test it is. And I think, 14 years into it, I think it's a fight to keep that because, people come from other churches or people come from other backgrounds and you bring that with you. But I think it's still there.
Yeah.
And it's important the older we get to keep fighting for it because it's not a style or like in the late 90s or like the 90s it was like we're going to be seeker friendly and it's
Sure.
like and then it was like the early 2000s like orthodoxy got really in vogue and it's like no, we're not chasing trends.
Right.
This is the culture of the church.
So that's a great segue because I had somebody who was talking to me yesterday. And they said to me, we really love Revolve. Have you ever thought of trying to, help other churches be more like Revolve? And I said to them, I said, I've actually had a lot of conversations over the last, let's say 7 years or so. But this is what I've noticed. A lot of churches, so one of the things that I think Revolve might differ from other churches is a lot of churches make their decisions based on pragmatism. What I mean by that is they ask the question, what will work or what's popular right now? Or what does our culture desire? Well, our culture wants to be able to watch their sermon from their couch, then we're going to give it to them. Whereas Revolve goes, no. I don't want to make my decisions based on pragmatism. I want to make my decisions based upon conviction.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
But even this podcast, it was like, do we need to get a podcast because that's what's en vogue? Or is this another tool...
to help.
So if you pay attention to the podcasts, the goal of the podcast is to teach you tools on how to be a better disciple maker.
Sure.
That's the underlying reason for this podcast.
Otherwise, there'd be no reason to do it.
Yeah,
right?
Not just because it's cool to have a podcast.
Right. And so Ephesians chapter 4 says that God has given apostles, prophets, evangelists, shepherds, and teachers to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And so a core conviction of mine and of all of our leaders is that the leadership of the church exists not to do the ministry, but the leadership of the church exists to equip the people to do the ministry. And so I would say right from the beginning, that's a giant fork in the road. So fork number one, in terms of why is Revolve different from maybe the church you grew up in, is because Revolve is about equipping you to do the ministry instead of you expecting us to do the ministry. And so that means that we're never going to do things like a vacation Bible school because that means that we're going to do this awesome event. Instead, we'd rather equip you to do a backyard Bible club in your neighborhood. Which we've done. We did during COVID. And so that kind of idea of saying it's not about consuming, it's about creating producers who are going to go and do it. So that's like fork in the road number one.
Yeah. So that would be, so the VBS is a great example, and definitely not knocking VBSs, but the whole idea is we want to equip our people to go where they live, work, learn, and play, and bring Jesus into that. Like the goal is never to bring people into Revolve and let Bill show them Jesus. The goal, like, yes, we want them to be a part of the church.
Obviously.
We want them to be a part of the church, and we highly value the local church, but the work of the ministry is the everyday Revolvers.
Yes.
Which is funny because some people say revolvers and some people say revolvees.
Well, I think it's because revolvers makes it sound so aggressive.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know what? We're a bunch of revolvers.
You know, I say revolvists.
Whatever. So here's the idea, though. We believe that the church is about equipping you to do the work of the ministry. And so when we planted Revolve, we wanted to be an equipping center, right? That equipped every disciple to be a healthy disciple who makes disciples where they live, work, learn, and play. And so let's talk about that one word at a time. First of all, David, what is a disciple? So you didn't grow up in the church, or maybe you grew up in a church that doesn't use that verbiage. How would you simply define a disciple to somebody?
A disciple is a follower of Jesus.
Follower of Jesus, and they're becoming more like Jesus,
Yep.
right? And so if Jesus is the leader, you're playing follow the leader. A disciple does what Jesus does, says what Jesus says, enjoys the things Jesus enjoys, values the things he values, right?
Yeah, so you're following Jesus in all aspects of life.
That's right. And so we don't want, now everybody's a disciple.
Yes.
And I think that's another fork in the road. Another fork in the road is that often churches will have this perspective where it's like, hey, some people are disciples, they're like the serious ones, but other people are just converts.
Yeah.
That's not the biblical model.
Yeah. And I think the if you look at the Great Commission, and this clicked in my brain when we went to Southeast
Indonesia.
Asia the first time, the Great Commission says, go and make disciples, teaching them to obey and baptizing them. And I think a lot of times people, it's like, come to church, let me teach you how to obey, and then you become a disciple.
Yeah.
And it's like Revolve kind of twists it and is like, hey, come become a disciple, and then I'm going to kind of teach you all the ins and outs. But it's like, come follow Jesus, and then let's figure it out as we're going.
I think
And
that
not like, let's get you perfect, and then you follow Jesus.
Yeah. I think a lot of churches have this perspective also where it's like, hey, we want you to become a Christian, and then we let you kind of like, we don't want to scare you away. So we kind of like let you do whatever you want. And then after 5 or 10 years, we like have the conversation where we're like, hey, David,
You just start reading your Bible.
It's time to take it seriously.
Yeah.
Whereas Revolve flip-flops it because Jesus said nobody can follow me unless they lay down their life. And so discipleship actually, if you want to be technical, discipleship happens before you're a follower of Jesus.
Yeah.
Because Jesus was inviting non-Christians to be his disciples. It says in John chapter 6 that Jesus said, unless, eat my flesh, drink my blood, you can have no part in me. And it says many of his disciples left. They weren't believing in him as Savior, but they were following him because they wanted to see what his claims were and that sort of stuff. So we are equipping people to be disciples, but not just any disciple. We are equipping people to be healthy disciples.
Healthy disciples. And the way we define healthy discipleship is we call it like the triangle. This is like
triangle of power, the Triforce.
Triforce, yeah. So the triangle is up, in, and out. So up is connecting to God. So we want to teach you how to abide, to self-feed, to pray, to be in the Word. So you have a relationship with God. You're connected in. So you're connected to a local church. You're connected to, you're doing ministry with people.
Discipleship group.
Discipleship groups. There's no Lone Rangers here. And then out is you're living on mission. So you're going out among the lost. You're making spiritual statements. You're loving your neighbor where you live, work, learn, and play.
And that's
a healthy disciple.
The healthy disciple, up in and out. And we think that's so important because if you just became a follower of Jesus yesterday and you say to me, hey, Pastor Bill, what now? I'm going to say, start reading your Bible, get connected to a local church.
In.
And I'm going to say, start praying for your lost friends.
Out.
Right? And so the idea is up in and out is the kind of the kernel of health. And then you realize that keeps going. It's like, read your Bible, learn to pray, learn to journal, learn spiritual discipline, start fasting, solitude, like that. There's lots of things to learn there. And it's like, it's not just going to a church. That's a great first step. It's being part of a community, holding each other accountable, spurring each other on, sharing the gospel with each other, forgiving each other, fighting for unity. Those are all in. And then out is the world needs to hear the good news. The world is desperate for good news. There's benevolence. There's gospel sharing. There's all kinds of ideas up, in, and out. Yeah. And so we don't want you to just be someone who shows up at church. We want you to be a healthy disciple.
Yeah. And what we've found is that there's, everyone's kind of naturally drawn to one. We're like, man, I just really love praying and I love being in the Word, but I don't really want to go to church on Sunday and be with all those weirdos, you know? And it's like, well, that's not healthy discipleship. You may be a follower of Jesus because
but you're not healthy if you're not connected to a local church.
Yeah. So
listen to me, YouTube world. If you're a follower of Jesus and you are not committed to a local church, you're not healthy.
Whoa.
Okay? That's like saying that Papa can be a Rolling Stone and he can have children all over the place. Not healthy.
Not healthy.
You are commanded to be committed to a local church. Hebrews says to gather together all the more to spur each other on in love and good deeds. And you can say, well, I go to a different church every week. Who's responsible for your soul? 1 Peter 5 says, shepherd the church of God, Bill, that is entrusted to you. How do I know if I'm entrusted to you? If 1 week you go here, 1 week you go there, 1 week you go here, 1 week you watch at home, 1 week you listen online, then who's responsible for your soul? Who are you encouraging? Who are you holding accountable? Where is your giving going to? Who are you serving? If you're not committed to a local body, you're not healthy.
Yeah.
And so that's an important part of being healthy.
Yep.
But it's true of the other things as well. You can't be a healthy disciple if you're not in the Word.
Yeah.
And you're not a healthy disciple if nobody, like none of your neighbors or coworkers know you're a follower of Jesus.
Well, and it's also very popular for people who are very apostolic and evangelistic to be like always out in the world, and then they're never committed to a body.
Yes.
You know, or they're only committed to the body, and it's like a country club, and it's like we don't go out amongst the lost.
So that's not healthy. You have to be healthy up in your relationship with God, in the community, and out in the world. And so we want to equip everybody to be a disciple, a healthy disciple who makes disciples.
Yeah.
And this goes back to Matthew chapter 28. Jesus comes back from the grave and he says, all authority in heaven and earth has been given unto me. Therefore, go disciple nations. And you realize that command, it says in verse 16, I believe, it says, when Jesus arrived, some worshiped and some doubted. That Jesus is commanding the worshipers and the doubters to go make disciples. And we have this perspective where only the pastors make disciples, only missionaries make disciples, but making disciples is for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really key. I didn't actually even realize that till I started coming to Revolve, is that in that very beginning of that passage, it said, you know, some disciples doubted and some disciples didn't, but they were there and they were Jesus's disciples and they were still commanded to make disciples. I thought that was, you know, that's really powerful.
When you just realize that command to be a disciple who makes disciples, it continues in perpetuity from the apostolic age all the way until today.
So let's break that down into two sections. So we got disciple and disciple nations. So why don't we, for the sake of Revolve DNA, let's look at maybe like DMM and then look at UPGs.
Sure.
You want to kind of do that?
So basically, you think about it the command is to disciple nations. It's not even to disciple individuals. It's literally to going disciple ethne. And that word ethne in the Greek is where we would get ethnicity, and it's essentially people groups. Ethno-linguistic people groups is how we tend to classify it. In other words, Jesus wants to be glorified in every tongue, every tribe, every nation on earth. That's what we see promised in the book of Revelation, chapter 7. And that's the goal. But the reality is that there's over a third of the world has no gospel access. And so one of the things that makes Revolve different from other churches is that we draw a hard line in the sand, not to say that Bolivia or whatever it might be doesn't need missionaries, but we say we are strategically focusing on what are called unreached people groups. And those would be ethno-linguistic groups that don't have a self-propagating movement of the gospel.
Yeah. So even though like we are partnering with
Germany, for example,
missionaries in Germany, the missionaries in Germany are reaching Arabs who are from
the Middle East. Yeah, or Afghans who are from Afghanistan.
But that's very strategic because, you know, we have Revolve can't go to Pakistan.
Right.
But if there's Pakistani refugees in Germany, we
can target them that way. Yes.
So it's very strategic.
And so all of our partners are basically working with unreached people groups. And so that's an important part of our heartbeat.
Which in turn forces us, because we said this, every decision we make is fed by this, to say no.
Yes.
You know, so it's like, you know, Bill and I and a handful of us, we went to Honduras twice, right, with Living Water. And then we like realized early on, like, this doesn't fit into our DNA because we realized it
was nice.
And it was good. It was great to build wells and to, to be involved in that ministry. And again, not knocking that ministry, but Revolve, we believe, has a very specific calling. So it's like, if we're gonna partner with a ministry, it's going to be geared to unreached people groups.
Right. And so then you think about it this way: if you know your goal, if my goal is to be a healthy disciple who makes disciples, and to equip you to be a healthy disciple who makes disciples, that might be here in Cape May County, or maybe the Lord will send you to the ends of the earth. And that means that if that's the goal, you need to have a biblical strategy to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord led us to something 15 years ago called disciple-making movements. And basically, a disciple-making movement, we don't need to overcomplicate it. It's referred to as DMM. A disciple-making movement is basically saying the best way to reach nations is to equip every single disciple to be a disciple maker.
Yes.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
The Marines will say every Marine should be a rifleman. It's every disciple should be a disciple maker, as opposed, because you can't go into Afghanistan and start a megachurch.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have another strategy. And the strategy is organic, decentralized, grassroots, like everybody out there, kind of like guerrilla tactic disciple making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that. That's, nailed it.
So growing up in a church, and this isn't to put other churches down, by the way, because it's not like a right or wrong necessarily.
Yeah, it's just what we've chosen.
So how was that different from maybe a church environment that you were raised in, or other people might have been raised in?
Well, I think when you look at a traditional church model that we experience here in South Jersey or in America, it is very much that we leave the disciple making to the professionals.
Yeah.
So I have a neighbor who I think might be spiritually open because they say something, and I go, oh, why don't you come to our church? My pastor, because, we have a dynamic pastor who's a great preacher. We have good music, we have a good show, quote unquote, and let's bring him in to hear Pastor Bill preach a great message. But then it's like, now Pastor Bill has 300 people he has to try to connect with. And what's different about Revolve is we want to equip you to go and reach your neighbor, even though you're not the professional.
Yeah.
So whether that be here in Cape May, or that be in Germany or Afghanistan, we're not only leaving disciple making to the professionals.
Yeah.
And there are people who can uproot and move to
and
these
there's people
places.
who are called to do that.
Yes. But we're all disciple makers where we live, work, learn, and play.
Well, and I know that my perspective when I was planting the church, my perspective was, if it doesn't work in Cape May and in Kathmandu, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And whether that's right or wrong, call me an idealist. My perspective was the gospel that we preach in Cape May needs to be the same gospel we preach in Kathmandu. The discipleship methodologies we would teach in Cape May need to be the same discipleship methodologies that we would teach in Kathmandu. So that if God gives David a job working on a ferry in Crete, Greece, David knows how to be a disciple who's going to make disciples and theoretically plant a church.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a coastie who gets transferred to Homer, Alaska, then you should theoretically, if you've been at Revolve, you should know how to be a disciple who makes disciples in Homer, Alaska, even it means starting a church.
Yeah.
And even like with Caden and Sarah, who are going to be out in West Coast, like this idea of saying, in my opinion, if you can't find a good church, plant a church.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to just be only Pastor Bill. If you're a healthy disciple, that's what, in the Bible, that's what would happen. You get a couple healthy disciples and they'd gather together and they'd form a new church.
Well, and we've seen that. Like someone whom we discipled at Revolve, who was put on a ship in the Coast Guard, they're out to sea for
90 days or whatever.
Yeah, 2 months or whatever. And there was a tragedy on the ship. And everyone came to this one guy who was just a guy. He wasn't a pastor or anything, and was like, hey, we know you're a Christian. Like, can you help us with this? And he basically started like a little mini church on the ship. Yeah. It was a Discovery Bible study, but he felt equipped to do that. And like, instead of calling in a panic to be like, hey, what do I do? He felt equipped to do it. When he got back to port, he was able to share with us, hey, I led this because I was equipped. And I think that's the point, is no matter where you are, if you have an opportunity to read the Bible with somebody to make a disciple, You don't have to like call Pastor Bill in a panic and be like, what do I do? What do I do?
Quick, give me access to Right Now Media.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think, and I don't want to derail this, so if I take this in the wrong direction, let me know. But because this is the DNA and everyone in Revolve theoretically is on board with that, saying we want everyone to be disciple makers and we have a passion for unreached people groups, that helps with decisions with like giving and where we how we spend our money, because the people of Revolve aren't expecting a super polished show with like video and smoke machines and lights and all that, because they're like, we value disciple making. That's our number one value.
Well, let me comment on that, because I'm not a moron. Like, I know people like videos. And I know people like, I like going to an Elevation Rhythm concert just as much as the next guy who likes loud music and excitement and I love that. All right. I'm a musician. I love that kind of stuff. But if that's your experience with church, and then all of a sudden the Lord moves you from,
Los Angeles.
Or
that's something that's.
Los Angeles. And then all of a sudden God moves you to small town Canada for work. And you're like, oh, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Or if he moves you to, Munich, or he moves you to Faisalabad, Pakistan. And then you're like, everything I've ever observed and learned, I can't do.
Well, I had friends that went to Hillsong, New York, because they lived by there, and then they moved like 2 hours away, and they were driving every week back to Hillsong, New York, 2 hours, so 4 hours round trip to go to church.
Yeah,
because they wanted that experience.
And so you think about it, that's not equipping. Like, I want to give you guys a church culture and a church DNA that you can take with you no matter where you go. I don't want you to be like, well, you know what? If church doesn't have moving lights and awesome video, then people aren't going to get saved. No, that's nonsense. God has always used the Holy Spirit and the Word of God to do his work. And so we want to put that stuff front and center. And so we want to equip you to be a healthy disciple who makes disciples where you live, where you work, where you learn, where you play. And that means that we are decentralized. And so, David, how would you explain to someone what it means to be decentralized versus maybe a typical church, which is centralized?
Yeah. So let's take a quick break.
Yeah, because my brain is firing
we'll take
on
a
all
quick break.
cylinders.
Let everybody kind of process what they just heard, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what is decentralized and why we don't have
a lot of programs.
All right, welcome back. Hey, we're hoping you're enjoying this. Hope that you're learning, and it's like some light bulbs are going off in your head of like, oh, this is why we talk about the importance of discipleship groups every single week, and we say things like UPGs and 1040 window. Like, these are a lot of like terms that we throw around, and we want you to know why. A lot of acronyms. So one of the things that we talk about is decentralized ministry, and if you are,
new to Revolve,
or even if you come to Revolve, that's kind of a weird word.
Sure.
But decentralized ministry is, you think about central was like a hub. Most ministries happen within a church. So you may have like a men's ministry or a surfing ministry or a motorcycle ministry. Like, you have these ministries that are inside the church trying to get people into church. And I remember my church that I went to in college, the philosophy was, if we could get people into the building to use the bathroom, that was a win. Because if you go and visit a church and you know where the bathroom is, that's like a comfortable thing. And I always thought that's actually kind of a cool thing, where it's like, if you
you're going to visit this church at Christmas time because you know where the bathroom is.
Yes, because you're like, man, if I got to go, I know where the bathroom is, because no one wants to ask, hey, where's your bathroom?
Right. Right.
And I was like, that's actually a really cool philosophy. And, but it's like, that's getting people in the door. And then it's like, you're relying on the professionals to do the discipleship. Our goal at Revolve, and we say this a lot, live, work, learn, and play. We all live, work, learn, and play somewhere. We bring Jesus into that. And so if you are a surfer, we say, bring Jesus to the beach where you surf. Don't you don't have to invite all your surfing friends to meet Bill, because Bill doesn't talk your lingo. You know, it's like Point Break. Have you ever seen Point Break? It's like you bring this Midwestern cop into like the surfing community.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, right? So, you know, if you're into riding motorcycles, it's like bring Jesus into your motorcycle friends or whatever. Don't feel like you have to bring all your motorcycle friends to Revolve. So that's like the difference between centralized and decentralized ministry.
Yeah.
And we see this in scripture. It's modeled with Levi, the calling of Levi, and Zacchaeus, where as soon as they become followers of Jesus, they throw parties at their house and invite all their friends to meet Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's biblically where we're getting this from.
Or Mark 5 with the demoniac, where he says, I want to come with you, Jesus. And Jesus says, stay here and go and tell your family and friends what the Lord has done for you. And he says he went around the 10 cities. And so decentralized is the way things spread. You know, 2 Timothy 2:2 says, Paul speaking to Timothy, his protege, says, what you have heard from me in the presence of many others, that's centralized. Pass on and trust to faithful men who will in turn teach others also. And so that's decentralized. And so in other words, it's continually going, it's multiplying out, it's passing on. And so again, Revolve doesn't need to start a CrossFit ministry.
Yeah.
If you go to the CrossFit gym, then just be a follower of Jesus at the CrossFit gym. And maybe the Lord will open up a door for you to do a Discovery Bible study at the gym instead of you inviting them to do Discovery Bible study in our office.
Which is possible. I've done it.
Yeah.
I've led a Discovery Bible study in a CrossFit gym.
And so that's the idea. The idea is that we're equipping you to go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, teaching them to obey all that God has commanded, remembering he's with you always, even as you go to the school district, even as you go to work. You know, we have people right now doing Bible studies during their lunch break with a dozen people. We have people who are doing Bible studies in libraries, people who are doing Bible studies on Discord. The point is they're leading out, they're going out into the world instead of coming to us and saying, Bill, do I have permission to start this Bible study? I've equipped you to be a disciple. Go.
Yeah.
Do it. Do your thing.
Yeah. If you've gone through like the ABCs of discipleship, or you've gone through the hub, go for it. Go for it. And even if you haven't, we will come alongside you and help you.
Yeah.
But we would rather, for Bill and I and for the elders and the various leadership throughout the church, it's a better use of our time to take 2 hours with you and teach you how to lead a Discovery Bible study with 10 of your friends.
Yeah.
Than expect 10 of your friends to come to us and us to try to minister to them.
It's more strategic.
It's definitely more strategic. So that's why we don't have ministries. And why don't we talk about the challenges of that? How is that?
Let's go to that. I want to make a comment because you said the ABCs in the hub.
Yes.
So I have to apologize for this because we've had so many different things over the years. So let me just define those a little bit for people who are new.
Yes.
Okay. The ABCs are like the most basic idea of what does it mean to be a healthy disciple. And we've been talking about this, but in an ideal world, we should be having an ABC class at least every other month so that you can be exposed to that. The hub incorporates some of the stuff from the ABCs, but it also includes a little bit more of a missional focus on the out, especially how do you do cross-cultural ministry? How do we do ministry when we go on a mission trip? And so it's kind of like a level 2, so to say. The pipeline takes the ABC and the hub content and it spreads it out over a whole year, almost like a 1-year internship or residency, where you have a group that's holding you accountable to not just learn it, but to implement it. And so when you hear us throwing around those terms, ABCs, the hub, pipeline, realize that's kind of the way we're using it. And hopefully we're going to clarify that more in the coming weeks as we get ourselves situated. But so David said, let's talk about the challenges. And so Revolve's DNA, equipping every disciple to be a healthy disciple who makes disciples where they live, work, learn, and play. It's decentralized, it's organic, it's grassroots, and it's messy.
It's messy
because
of our culture in America, in South Jersey. If you are spiritually seeking any sort of spiritual advice, you oftentimes will come to a church.
Yes.
So it's still, the church, the ecclesia, is the gathering of the saints. I mean, technically, Sunday morning should be for all baptized believers to be coming together to be equipped for the work of the ministry. But in reality, in our American culture, church is somewhere where you go to find God.
Yeah.
So people kind of show up on Sunday morning and they get involved and they like the preaching and they like the music and they like the community. But a traditional centralized ministry church would say, oh, well, on Tuesday night, we have a men's ministry. And on Wednesday night, we have a ladies knitting class. And on Thursday night, we have a potluck once a month. And it's like all of these opportunities to meet people within the church. And we're like, all of your friends should be outside of church and you should be going to meet them and then bring them in. But it's like decentralized is challenging when people show up and then they're looking for community inside the church.
Yeah.
I would say that's the biggest problem I've observed.
I like to think about these things through the lens of, I've used this illustration before, of centripetal motion and centrifugal force.
Yeah, you're going to have to explain that.
So centripetal motion is, when you spin something, centripetal is the force that's pulling something in. It's the internal force. Centrifugal is like if I spin a bucket, the water doesn't leave because it's trying to go out. Okay. If you're centripetal, if the inward pull is too great, people will never leave. Mm-hmm. And so like there needs to be a balance of gathering, scattering, gathering, scattering, gathering, scattering. If it's just gather, I believe inevitably you're going to descend to become a country club.
Yeah.
So you need to have enough of a centripetal pull where you're kind of like getting people equipped, but then you need to, like David with that slingshot, then you need to let go of the sling and launch people out.
Yeah.
And so if you think of it this way, it's like a Sunday we're gathering to be equipped, to worship, to celebrate, to remember the Lord's Supper and baptism, and then we're scattering and we're going out as missionaries from Monday to Saturday, and then we gather back in, and then we go, and we gather back in, and then we go. And I think that's the way it should be. But instead, we've created in our world this culture of like, we gather Sunday, we gather Monday, we gather Tuesday, we gather Wednesday, we gather Thursday.
Yeah, you're at the church every single night.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But it's supposed to be equipping you to go do something.
Yeah. And I think, and so the challenge becomes on another level where, people like myself and people like you who are, in, essentially full-time ministry, you don't have any friends outside of church.
Yeah. And even the people at church don't like you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like our goal is to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. So it's like, it's not really we do engage, like we both have started Discovery Bible studies, but it's like, I don't know the people at the Cove
it's not my community.
But it's not my community. And it's like, there are so many, like, I'm not just going to like go and walk down at the docks and be like, hey, what's up, fisherman? With like a pair of brand new like oil skins,
right,
but it's
right.
like,
just so the tag on them.
Yeah. But it's like, we can't reach all of the people in our community.
It would be weird if I went to your daughter's dance company to preach the gospel.
Yes.
But you could go to your daughter's dance company and preach the gospel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so
we invest our time to equip you to do that, because to just say that seems super intimidating.
But here's the thing. It's so much better.
Yeah.
Because this is the reality. In a traditional church environment, you have your life, and then on top of your life, you have ministry. Mm-hmm. This is what we're saying. I'm going to equip you. We want to equip you to be the right person no matter where you go. Mm-hmm. And so your kids play soccer. You love being a soccer coach. Great. Just bring Jesus with you. Mm-hmm. Instead of, well, now on top of soccer coach, I want you to join this outreach ministry. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just saying, bring Jesus to the soccer field. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying, bring Jesus to the gym. You go to the gym 5 days a week? Great. Bring Jesus with you. That's all I'm saying. So we're saying just go live on mission instead of having life plus mission plus family plus church, and then you feel completely crushed. We're saying just live on mission all the time.
All the time.
Be the right person no matter where you are, rather than trying to figure out the perfect program, the perfect this, the perfect that.
And we are going to dedicate our time as the leaders, to loop back to the beginning, to equip you for the work of the ministry. We're not just saying, go take Jesus to the soccer field. We're saying, let us equip you
So you feel confident.
so you feel confident to do that. And I think that is one of the key differences of Revolve to other churches, is because no church is going to say, well, don't share the gospel. They're going to say, when they leave, that you're now entering the mission field. Like every church
But we're
has
gonna actually
that.
equip you for
Our
it.
goal is that we are going to equip you, and we are going to devote 98% of our time and energy into equipping the saints for the work of the ministry, so that the gospel will go near and far.
That's right. And guys, we talk about catalyze Cape May,
Mm-hmm.
in other words, how are you going to start a gospel fire in Cape May that spreads from Cape May up to Ocean City and then keeps going across New Jersey and shoots off to the ends of the earth? It's all about everybody having this DNA. This DNA isn't something that we invented. This is the DNA that we see in the New Testament. It says in the book of Acts, chapter 8, it says persecution hit, and it says that then the disciples spread and the apostles stayed. The apostles were in Jerusalem, but everybody else went, and they preached the gospel as they went. And the gospel spread from Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, to the ends of the earth, not because of the apostles sharing it, but because you had everyday people sharing the gospel. And that's our goal, and that's our hope. And that's how we're going to catalyze Cape May, is if every disciple is a healthy disciple maker.
Well, there you go. Hopefully that is helpful to you to hear and learn about the DNA of who we are of Revolve. Please understand this. It's a work in progress. It's not a perfect system, but
nope.
By far, we as the leaders, as the elders, we are daily seeking the Lord, and every decision revolves around time spent in the Word and prayer. And I think, we're seeing the fruits of that, and we have a healthy church, and the Lord's blessing it. So we're glad you're along the ride with us. If you have any questions, let us know. If you want to get involved in a discipleship group, we didn't really even hit on discipleship groups too much, but it's
the people living it out in community together.
Yeah. So we're not expecting you to do this alone. Do it with other people with you. So if you have any questions, let us know. If not, we will see you
on the flippity flip.
On the flippity flip,
as they say. All those people.